I mean, the first season was very hard to watch. It was so stupid. The only good thing that I took from it was the line, I have a tempest in me.
No. I have a tempest in me, and you got to be close to the camera.
And more like this, I have a tempest in me. Okay, so we can move on to the second topic, which was absolutely glorious. I think it was yesterday. Yes, yesterday, Game of Thrones
Yep.
trailer, not Game of Thrones, of course, but you know what I mean. House of the
Mm.
Dragon trailer dropped. Along with that, dropped the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power trailer, and it was voted to absolute hell. So,
Oh,
what
I
do you
actually
think?
have. Well, if let me just take care of this portion right here. Now, I have this pulled up on my screen, and as it stands right now, and these numbers will change, but I'm looking at two screenshots. HBO's House of the Dragon, which I think if Game of Thrones actually ran with this series instead of Game of Thrones, people would be happy because guess what? House of the Dragon is actually completed, George R. R. Martin. But let's look at it. House of the Dragon uploaded on Max's YouTube channel with 2.2 million subscribers, 67,000 likes, 848 dislikes. So already, House of the Dragon succeeding. Coming out June 16th. Can't wait. I'm going to cook myself a nice steak dinner to watch it and be with Team Green. That's right. I'm with House Green. There you go. I'm with the Green Dragons. But when you look at Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power from Amazon, 44,000 likes, 146,000 dislikes. This is a completely devastating ratio. And right now, this is just a screenshot. So these numbers that I'm reading to the viewing audience right now, these numbers will change, but what will remain the same is that the trailer for Rings of Power has failed completely because look at the first season. Nothing but lore breaking rules. And when you fire Amazon, here's the people who are the lore masters of Lord of the Rings, who understand what Tolkien's work is. Clearly, the fandom is going to push back. And I don't know why they chose to spend money on a second season, but to me, it's very clear. Everyone's going to wonder, well, why waste money? It's because it's just to cook the books, tax breaks. Amazon's a multi-billion-dollar corporation, dare I say it, trillion-dollar corporation, and how they spend their money is really what they want to do. And the second season, this new season trailer, it's being mocked. It's being made fun of because it's nowhere near to the original prequels of what Tolkien spent his life to make. And the fans who grew up with Lord of the Rings and all the other adjacent books are upset too because something that's close to them that they've been teaching their families or reading to their families for generations now has been utterly twisted by Amazon. See, evil can't create, it only can corrupt. And that's what Amazon has done to the Lord of the Rings series. And another thing too, and this is just a rumor right now. So everyone please take this with a, don't put too much credit into this, but right now it's
500
happening too.
salt tons.
What was that? I didn't hear you.
500 tons of salt. We're gonna take it with the
Yes.
500 tons.
Yeah, probably. Well, you know what? Maybe a little bit more. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, season 3. That's right, folks. There's a season 3 cooking. Its
No.
budget is a budget is going to be much lower than season 2. So there's a new rumor that claims videos planned third season of the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, will be much lower compared to the upcoming second season. You know what that means? Third season's done. They're out of money, or either that Jeff Bezos kind of heard what's going on and says, okay, all right, wrap it up. We're losing money. Because that's the reason why we are getting Lord of the Rings is because according to private conversations people have had with Bezos, he asked a lot of his execs at Amazon Prime, how come I don't have a Game of Thrones? Because he was watching Game of Thrones and he wanted his own series. Well, when you try and make Lord of the Rings the Game of Thrones, you fail miserably. The latest rumor comes from Scooper's Fellowship of Fans. The Scoopers posted on X at the end of March that Rings of Power Season 3, which will film in the United Kingdom, will have a much lower budget than Season 2 and will focus to reduce department costs. So people are saying, well, department costs, so like what, hair, makeup, costume were more expensive in the UK than in New Zealand. And also more people are saying, well, what they're trying to understand is how come there's supposed to be 5 seasons and you're going to make the budget even lower in season 3? What's going to be cut? Because if you look at Lord of the Rings, the first 3 movies that came out that were directed by Peter Jackson, those were works of art. They had a lot of budget, but there was a story besides the budget. There was the actors. There were people actually playing these characters, like Frodo, like Gandalf, like Mir, all these characters, Legolas, all of them, Gimli, all these characters. And when I look at the Lord of the Rings of Power actors, they're just there to get a paycheck. I don't feel the same passion, which probably explains why they're losing the budget. But I've talked a little bit too much. Why don't you take it away?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, the first season was very hard to watch. It was so stupid. The only good thing that I took from it was the line, I have a tempest in me.
No. I have a tempest in me, and you got to be close to the camera.
And more like this, I have a tempest in me.
Oh, and Gladriel had like a like a love-hate romance with Sauron. I'm supposed to believe that Sauron was just this misunderstood person. No, he was an evil bad guy, a bad guy, and he wasn't the bad guy. He was just the villain. You know, originally, if you look at the works, he was like the second in command, like the real mean evil forces chained underneath in the world of Lord of the Rings. But also, people are saying like they are in panic over the fall that is Lord of the Rings. Well, when you have a corporation like Amazon bleed out money for a series that no one cares about. You know, let's do a comparison scene. In the first Lord of the Rings movie, The Fellowship of the Rings, when when Frodo and the Fellowship are attacked by the goblins, a cave troll is being dragged. Now that cave troll, you know, the more I look at it, I realize that cave troll was a victim. And the movie shows it very well. He's being dragged by chains. This cave troll clearly lost its mind. It was being abused probably by the goblins, and it starts attacking Frodo and everybody else. He even starts attacking his own, you know, party members, the goblins. But when the troll dies, you hear that pain in its voice, like it's been tortured for so long. When Legolas shoots it in the head and it falls down, you kind of feel sorry for him. A little bit. Of course, it's a monster, but you do feel sorry for it. You have to make me sympathize with the characters or feel for them, and I don't. They make dumb decisions, and especially in the first season where, oh yeah, the elves are stealing our how are the elves stealing your jobs? Or is it at the conflict between the elves and the dwarves? It doesn't add anything further into the story. What they're trying to do is milk everyone's member berries because, oh, Lord of the Rings, it's the name you know. But if you're going to be disrespectful to the name, why be invested into it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of feels like they're trying to just wash money, which is horrible.
Well, here's what's interesting. So the company's senior vice president, Mike Hopkins, informed employees in an email that was obtained by my deadline. Throughout the past year, we've looked at nearly every aspect of our business with an eye towards improving our ability to deliver even more breakthrough movies, TV shows, live sports, and personalized, easy-to-use entertainment experience for our global customers. As a result, we've identified opportunities to reduce or discontinue investments in certain areas while increasing our investment and focus on content and product initiatives that deliver the most impact. As a result, these decisions will be eliminating several hundred roles across Prime Video, Amazon MGM Studios organization, because there's layoffs happening at Amazon MGM Studios in the middle of January. So earlier this year, several hundred employees were just laid off. So the reason why we're also seeing a budget cut for the third season, people are being fired. This is the pushback that Hollywood was destined to receive after giving us years and years of crap. Stories that don't resonate, stories that have no impact. And with the Writers Guild strike that took place, with Hollywood, Disney hemorrhaging money, all these studios, you know what this tells me? They're not in the black. They are in the absolute red. And what this means is that by laying people off, productivity is going to decline, quality is going to decline. These studios can't function anymore. And what I could theorize here, and I'm willing to admit I could be wrong on this. There's a very small possibility that they could start selling these IPs again, selling them to cut off dead weight because it's no longer valuable or profitable for them to be along. So that calls into question what happens to all these series. Will Disney sell off Star Wars or Marvel? I don't think so. Will Amazon sell off Lord of the Rings after they spent so much money on it? No, but they'll probably put in the closet. They'll probably just keep it buried somewhere, but they can't produce content anymore. Consumers are not happy what's being delivered, and only shows that deliver what the fans want will succeed, like House of the Dragon. And look, I know Game of Thrones season 7 and 8, because I'm going to be generous to season 5 and 6 here. Okay, I'm going to be generous here. Game of Thrones 7 and 8 ruined it for a lot of the fans, right? But House of the Dragon, it's a completed series. We know how the Targaryens end. We know how even the Dance of the Dragons War ends. We do, because it's completed. The people running House of the Dragon have to drop the bag thoroughly, drop the ball thoroughly to screw this up, because already people are excited for the next series. We know how the show will end, which is perfect. And in turn, the first season was loved. In fact, many people began to forgive Game of Thrones because of House of the Dragon, because it was able to deliver a controversial statement in a 3-2-1, compelling story, compelling characters, and special effects that captured the mind.
Yeah, actually, it was pretty great. I mean, I totally love the first season. There's really nothing wrong with it, I won't say. Well, there's a thing where they casted people that, are not supposed to be cast in certain roles. They changed that, they race swapped. That's the only thing that was towards the woke side. It was very, very obvious. Obviously. Other than that, there's nothing wrong with it.
I actually thought it was very interesting that they did do that, because it showed that because here's a little bit inside thing with the Valerians of that household. Their whole entire family, at least for the young men, and I think to some extent the women too, they're supposed to travel and visit different islands here and there, and in turn, many bring back spouses or concubines from that area. So it does kind of somewhat make a little bit of sense, and there is some hint of that even happening a little bit in the book, because George R. R. Martin, not only does he like to write about food, he does talk about family traits and genetics a little bit. So I was like, okay, that was interesting. It was a little fun twist, but it does show that could be done. I think the actors all throughout the entire show for the first season delivered a great performance. I think there were some things that were cut out that I wish that weren't cut out, but I think 10 out of 10. This was for a first season. They delivered, and I think they'll deliver again for the second season. I hope they really stay true to the lore and all the exciting action that comes. That's why I'm Team Green.
Well, kids, I don't think that we can use the diversity with people traveling, because they are trying to stay in the family, so to speak, to keep their bloodline and how they look together. And plus, this is based on ancient England, medieval, just whatever you can think about. You can't really actually excuse this, because there are just no black people there in these times, not in the books. We can't do that. We just can't. We have to say, well, okay, they just decided to, because, to go with today's times. That's the only thing. We can't actually justify it within the story and the lore and the world. We just can't. That's
it. I think in many ways with that change that they did, though, I think I'm more forgiving for that part, because the actors, I care what the actors do deliver for their roles, and plus the Valerians don't even play such a huge role, which I was surprised how much attention was given to House Valerian, because one thing I was concerned about, they don't talk about House Valerian in Game of Thrones like the original series. And in Game of Thrones, it is brought up. Like, they are brought up. So I thought that they would cut out House Valerian, because people would be confused. Well, wait, there was another Valerian household, and they do exist. And it does play for another role about how George talks about genetics and how the Valerians as a whole have their genetic sequence to be dragon riders and dragon hatchers. But that's a complicated story for another time, because we could talk about dragons and how they're made. And it's really for the women. I'll just keep it down short. If the women of a Valerian household, be it House Valerian or House Targaryen, or even that House Baratheon, if they have the Dragon X chromosome, like they both have, if the women have the double X chromosome that is connected to dragon hatching, those women are dragon hatchers, which is why the queen that is forgotten, Princess Rhaenys, she's a dragon hatcher. When she was born, more dragons were being hatched, including the current queen for the Blacks. She's also a dragon hatcher. They don't know it, but there's a reason why a lot of Targaryen women died in Game of Thrones. It's because the maesters kind of figured it out. Like, the women can hatch dragons, the men can ride dragons.
Oh, and the women also can ride dragons.
Yes, that is true. Yes, the women can also, but they have to have the X chromosome with the dragon hatching ability.
That's interesting. Did she have to lay on the egg to hatch?
No, I guess it's probably like the presence. Their presence being there, being around the egg. I guess what could be like magic, but it's just like more of their, I guess, psychic ability. Because when you have Bran, when he wargs out of his body and into an animal, that's like a psychic ability. If you have that ability, then you have the ability to maybe hatch dragons, or either that. If a woman has both those X traits, then she can hatch a dragon.
That's pretty cool. Okay.
The 40k Empress teaches fitness, health, nutrition, and helps with your intimate relationships at OnlyFans. Yes, I know what you're thinking, but she doesn't use it for Slanesh things. Go there and let her help you with what you truly need. The link is down below in the description dimension. Go on, click the link. I'd know if you didn't. I see you.